mask mandate on planes and trains, the much beleaguered passenger class in this country celebrated upon hearing the news. Watch this.
Masks are no longer required on domestic flights or at U.S. airports. While employees and customers are no longer required to wear a mask, they may do so if they choose.
Masks will be optional this evening for all crew and passengers as well.
If you choose to, you may remove your mask.
Remove the mask mandate, so everyone can enjoy and celebrate.
So the mask mandate never made sense on planes. The air on planes is filtered. It's way safer than a restaurant. The whole point of the mandate was to humiliate you and get you to obey, and people hated it. And the airlines knew they hated it, so almost every major carrier in the country lifted the mandates as soon as the judge allowed them to. But Joe Biden's publicist, who is a dedicated enemy of human happiness and really ought to be teaching in a kindergarten classroom in New York City, said she's disappointed in the judge's ruling. Watch.
The CDC recommended continuing the order for additional time, 2 weeks, to be able to assess the latest science in keeping with its responsibility to protect the American people. So this is obviously a disappointing decision.
No one believes you anymore. No one believes the CDC anymore. You drained your credibility account over the last year by lying to us. You're a joke. You're the only ones that don't know it. And they don't know it. A couple of hours ago, the Biden administration announced it will appeal the ruling if the CDC tells them to. Quote, if the CDC concludes a mandatory order remains necessary, the DOJ will appeal. The DOJ? Nobody wants that. The only people who are in favor of it are the journalists who work for the administration, which is virtually all of them, and they're thrilled at the possibility that the American population will once again be subjugated because they deserve it. Watch.
What do we need to know about this ruling? Are we kind of in the Wild West? It's every company for itself?
100%. It's a mess.
Just because this ruling was made by a judge doesn't mean that suddenly the science has changed. We know that masks remain very protective.
And this was basically Donald Trump as a federal judge today.
Yeah, it absolutely reads like Donald Trump as a federal judge.
So what we've done is we've removed a travel mask mandate with an incredibly high level of virus. And right now, as of today, it is less safe to fly in this country than it was yesterday.
She obviously is clueless, and the vast majority of scientific evidence is masks have saved millions of lives.
Masks have saved millions of lives, says some low IQ politician who's never had a job. She knows the science. Candace Owens knows a lot more about science than the lady you just heard. She's the founder of Blex, and we're always happy to have her on. It's so unbelievable. Their power's ebbing away, and they're mad.
What we're looking at, these people, Tucker, they're sick. These are utterly sick, mentally unstable people who want people to suffer out of sport, out of sheer sport. We obviously know the science does not make sense. It never makes sense. Talk about science ever shifting. That's exactly what the CDC specializes in, making up things as they go along, like they are actually, Simon says, in the child's game. And you know what? It is sad to me to see so many flight attendants celebrating and people that are in the seats, because you realize people have just been suffering, fearful that they're going to go to prison. The first announcement they hear, if you don't comply, you can be arrested. Imagine having a federal charge because you didn't wear a mask over your face. We watch children suffer. We watch special needs kids get kicked off of planes for their inability to keep their mouths on, to keep their masks on their face, as well as young kids, as 2 years old, crying and screaming, not understanding why they're being made to wear a mask. And this is really just happening in America, by the way. I've traveled all across Europe. They've all released the mask mandate. So this is not based in science. This is just based in control. The government took power. They don't want to give it back. And to me, as happy as I am, as relieved as I am that I can go on a plane and not wear a mask, I don't feel like this is a win, because we shouldn't be cheering on the restoration of our basic human rights. We should be infuriated, and we should want to see these people face consequences. Because guess what, Tucker? The CDC broke the law. That's what the ruling says. It was unconstitutional. Similarly, OSHA broke the law. They were trying to overreach and decide if they could do things that they had entirely no powers to do so. When regular people break the law, Tucker,